I want to mention something here um, before because we always look at things the wrong way here. We always end up all ass backwards and upside down, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Um, Basically, before we had all these people with the victim mindset and all that, we had a society that showed those people how that works, and they got accustomed. This was just the way of the life at the time. It wasn't any it wasn't any like going out of the way or bad parenting or any of these other issues that we talk about. In some cases, yeah, but what really was there is that the society was like a petri dish to germinate that. And remember when everyone was so happy and your friend just got all this money and all this great good stuff and super powerfuls. Everybody's out there suing and they'll sue you. I'll get my lawyer. Now it's like everybody want to cut that out of the way and just get right to the slip and fall. And I'm hurt. Okay. Society taught that. Who's responsible for the society? Is it us? Should we enforce those societal norms and laws to hold them in place? If we as the citizens did, then that would be pretty fucking impossible. Because we're not the government. We're not the law enforcement employed by the government. We're not the public servants that hold the fabric of society together. But we can affect the fabric in society and cause change and ripples to it and all sorts of other stuff. But the main fabric is held together by a central source. And that's what allows these people to just get sick. And the doctors can't stand up to it. Nobody can stand up to it. So what they do is they don't, they can't face the real problems. What they do is they go and they pick on a soft target. They go and pick on easier, smaller targets. That's just like a natural type thing. You see this gazelle and then you see a wounded gazelle. You're going to go after the wounded gazelle in the nature if you're a lion. That's just like a nature thing. You have to be aware of that, else you'll get sucked up into this loop of natural law, which is insanity. It's insanity, it's relativism. All that relativism opens up holes and exploitations where you can get exploited. Then that's how things like Marxism thrive and originate out of, basically of fool's paper mache ignorance. It's like the people are being foolish. They're not ever anteing up. They're not ever looking at what the problem is. And the government fully allows that. It lets them and even encourages and helps them be like that. So you can't rely on the government to do it for you because they're not. But you can't go at the same time and pick on all these other smaller derivatives and symptoms of the cause. You can't just pick on the causes or chase the symptoms around in circles with drugs and needles and panaches and everything else. That's just fucking wrong and wasteful, really. Because the world will never be able to hold all that. You'll be buried in garbage and everything else. Plastic bottles and, the antibiotics won't work and all that other stuff, So you'll just need stronger drugs and all that to treat the stronger symptoms, which eventually would just become the perfect addict. You find the perfect drug to treat all the symptoms, you find the perfect addict. Now you're chasing around this fucking addict thing. And it's just one thing after the other, really. So the problems need to be looked at seriously, and they need to be looked at in a correct manner. And not keep attacking these soft targets, which are the kids. Yeah, there's damages that have been done, but where's the damages coming from? You can't just sit there and throw Band-Aids on everything and then be like, wow, we sold so many Band-Aids, we're good. While people are just getting hurt out there. And that's almost one of the other problems with psychology, is that they develop this Munchausen syndrome. They become really happy off help. They think help is good. So you want to help everybody. Then you start being delusional. Now you want to help people that don't even need help. Or maybe you're out at things to help, but you're still reeling. You still want to find. You still want to do the psychology. It's like if everyone got better tomorrow, psychology wouldn't have a job. And, it's like one of the things that happens is, I think Nietzsche or someone said, like, be aware of those who fight monsters and become one themselves. You can become a monster off good. That's relativism. You get hooked on those good cookies. Now you want everyone to be sick and need help, need a rescuer. Then you can get in there with your business and set up shop. It's almost like what Jordan Peterson does. He has Munchausen syndrome about the left and all this other stuff that he dreamed up that never really happened the way he thought. He just made a whole big mess of delusions just so he could get famous. And that's like the scheme around here. That's like the main scheme and scam. But really, all the issues, especially with this people kind thing going on that just came out, he's going to realize that he was dreaming all that shit. And he didn't even know what the truth was if he saw it. If somebody came out and said we're all people kind, he wouldn't even know that that's the truth. That everyone is people. Until you divide that and break that down. That's the logos, man. That's the fucking logos. And the logos is a science. Basically, that's in the parable of the Garden of Eden. They eat the knowledge apple, then they become divided. They're no longer a boy and a girl. They're just two separate things in division. And they got to get back to the wholeness. They can't be unwhole the way they were, which happened after they, learn. After you take in information and learn. After you get the knowledge, it spawns dualities. Or polarization, whatever you're calling it out there, that's another thing. All people do is rename the same stuff and relabel it and sell it around with little perversions and twists. Whisper down the lane crap in it, but they don't ever apply the stuff. They just get into it to sell books and stupid shit and trinkets and t-shirts and then they get out of it. They get their fix and their fill. They get distracted and wrapped up into something else. But yeah, that's the way the Logos works. The Logos also works to spawn these straw man dupes, these black hole duplicates that Eric Weinstein's starting to try to talk about. Man, that's all old shit on my Facebook, because you can't fight the void. If you don't know, you can only pitch relativism at the void, which is straw man dupes, ideas of things. That's the logos. Your idea of something will never actually be the actual something. Okay, and that happens every time. My mind can never turn into a rock. I can only get ideas of a rock. So that's basically how that goes. But yeah, these doctors, they get Munchausen symptoms by proxy, and then they got a DSM jam-packed full of mental illnesses. Now the whole world is a fucking mental illness. Well, that's just great and convenient for them. They'll just work all day and harvest us and, talk about help and good and all this stupid stuff. And somebody's got to stand up to that and put their foot down to this bullshit. Because that's really what it is. And nobody's standing up and being like, hey, wait a minute. This isn't right. They're all afraid in their manners, too. They all have manners. There's no morals in manners. Manners is for bootlicking slaves. Okay, I do what's morally correct. And I stand up if I see something that's immoral, and I say something about it. If you catch a fuck you in your face, then you do. That doesn't mean I'm going to be violent or anything like that. Doesn't mean you're a future predictor. All because I go like this. Doesn't mean you can predict the future.